Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, in this divided world, one thing I think we can all agree on is that being an adult is not what we imagined it would be like in childhood. I mean, my whole childhood, I wanted to be an adult. But if I knew then what I know now, I probably never would have become an adult. Because when you're an adult, you have so many responsibilities, commitments, and you have to be feeding yourself all the time. Long story short, adulthood ain't easy, ladies and gentlemen. And one of the biggest struggles of being an adult is probably money. Because when you're an adult, you have to constantly be paying bills, managing your finances, and plan for the future. However, money doesn't have to be a struggle. If you take the time to simplify your finances, money can just be one less thing to worry about as an adult. So in this video, I want to walk you through a 6-step process consisting of 6 different actions to help you simplify your finances. And the point of taking these steps to simplify your finances is so you can spend less time worrying about money and more time worrying about other things. We have so many things to worry about as an adult, and money should not be one of those things. So the first step on your journey to simplify your finances is to limit what can go wrong. Now, I want to ask you a question, and feel free to respond in the comments. What's the best way to prepare for life's emergencies? Well, I'm sure one of the top answers is build an emergency fund. And although that's a good way to prepare for life's emergencies, I don't think it's the best way. I argue that the best way to prepare for life's emergencies is to limit what can go wrong. Now, the average American's lifestyle is set up in a way where they have to worry about so much because there's so many things in their life that could go wrong. For example, they have to worry about keeping up with their expensive car payment. They have to worry about their big house with a high mortgage and a bunch of maintenance. And they have to worry about losing their job because they don't have any savings. Because they're choosing to live this complex lifestyle, they've created so many things that could go wrong that they have to worry about. But I argue that most of these worries could be avoided if they just simplified their lives. For example, if they chose to get a more affordable car, the payment wouldn't be as stressful. If they lived in a modest house, they would pay less and have less maintenance. And if they focused on savings, they wouldn't have to stress about their job. We can't prevent bad things from happening in life, but we can limit how many things can go wrong. So many of the problems that we have in life are self-imposed, and so many of our worries are completely unnecessary. And if we chose to live a life focusing on limiting what can go wrong by doing things like owning instead of paying in payments, living below our means, not taking on things we can't afford, and building financial safety nets, then life can't hit us that hard. In order to simplify your finances, the first thing that you need to do is limit how many things can go wrong in your life. And the next step to simplifying your finances is just have one of everything. We're often taught and we often believe that the best way to approach life's problems is through complex solutions. And when it comes to personal finances, so many people think they're better off when things are complex. So they have multiple bank accounts, multiple credit cards, multiple debit cards, multiple savings accounts, and multiple investment accounts. And because they approach their finances in this complex way, they end up having to keep track of so much, so they often forget and overlook different things. But my motto to simplify my finances is just have one of everything. I think as humans, our brains weren't meant to process and keep track of very complex things, and I think that things are best when they're simple. And so I think when it comes to personal finance, it's just best to have one of everything. One bank account, one debit card, one credit card, one savings account, and one investment platform. I mean, the FDIC insures up to $250,000. So if you have less than that, which I'm guessing you do, why would you need multiple bank accounts, I think just having one of everything, keeping your finances simple, is best because you don't have to keep track of as many things. You can easily know how much money you have, where your money is, how much you're spending, and where you're at with your goals. Whereas if you approached it in this complex way of having multiple of everything, you would need complex spreadsheets with complex formulas in order to know the answer to those questions. It just seems unnecessary. It seems like this unnecessary hardship that people put themselves through. But if you instead focus on simplifying your finances and just have one of everything, it's much easier to keep track of things, and you don't have to spend hours making sure you didn't overlook anything. And so the third step in order to simplify your finances is embrace autopay. As I said in the beginning of this video, being an adult ain't what it's cracked up to be. And probably one of the most difficult things about being an adult is paying bills. The amount of bills we have to pay is incredible. I mean, we have rent, utilities, phone, insurance, car payments, memberships. And the list never ends, ladies and gentlemen. It just keeps getting bigger as you get older. But there are so many bills to keep track of. And one way I've just simplified this process is to embrace autopay. In life, we have so many bills and so many payments to keep track of that we often forget to pay some of them. However, this can be completely avoided just by embracing autopay because you don't have to remember specific dates to pay bills, and you don't have to worry about forgetting to pay a bill. Paying bills on your own in 2023 is just an unnecessary chore. You're going to have to pay these bills regardless, so you might as well just automate it and get a computer to do it for you. And of course, make sure Xfinity isn't doing anything suspicious. Don't even get me started about Xfinity. I hate them, but they're my internet provider. But I have never been overcharged using autopay. Putting everything on autopay is just one less thing to worry about. It's one less thing to keep track of as an adult because you know in the background your bills are being paid and you can focus on more important things in life. It's so simple. And so the next step to simplifying your finances is make some bills easy and pay just once a year. Now, to continue on this subject of paying bills, another way I simplify my finances is to pay certain bills in full once a year. There are certain bills that I have that I can just pay the entire year in advance so I don't have to think about them. For example, my cell phone company is Mint Mobile, and I pay $15 a month if I pay the entire year in full. And so I just pay in full once a year, and for the rest of the year, I don't have to worry about my cell phone bill. It's one less bill to think about. And a little money-saving tip I'd recommend is to get Mint Mobile. I've used them for 3 years, $15 a month. You cannot beat that. I've never had a problem my entire time using them. This is not a sponsored video, but there is an affiliate link in my description. Let them know I sent you. But I won't go in detail in this one, but there are certain bills that you can just pay in full each year, just once a year, and it will simplify your finances because it's one less thing to worry about. And now the fifth step in order to simplify your finances is use credit cards to consolidate non-bill purchases. Now, there are some expenses that we have that we can't put on autopay, but we have to pay for these things as they come. And these are things like groceries, eating out, clothes, stuff, beer, gas. And because we can't pay these things once a month, it can complicate your finances because you don't see it as one lump sum. But one way I simplify this is use a credit card to consolidate these purchases. When it comes to these non-bill purchases, we often use cash or a debit card to pay for them. We see our account decrease and we quickly forget about these purchases. And the problem with this is that we can often lose track of how much money we're spending on these non-bill purchases. And so one thing I do is instead of putting it on my debit card, I put it all on my credit card, and I see my account balance rise throughout the month until I get my monthly statement. And obviously only do this if you can handle paying off the card in full each month and not carry a balance. But doing this allows me to consolidate my non-bill purchases into one single bill, one single payment at the end of the month, my monthly credit card statement. And when I consolidate these non-bill purchases into one single monthly payment, I can easily see if I'm overspending in any area, because if one month my statement is $1,000 and the next month my statement is $2,000, I know I'm overspending somewhere. And doing this simplifies my finances because I can easily see, I can quickly see if I'm overspending somewhere. And if I am, then I analyze the statement and see where I'm overspending. So the next month, I don't end up spending too much money in that field. And so the final step that I want to mention in this video is keep investments passive. One thing that I really admire about the stock market is that it's so humbling. No one really knows what they're doing. I mean, I think the only two people that know what they're doing are Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. Listen to these people. Everybody else who talks about the stock market has some ulterior motives. But Warren Buffett, undeniably the greatest investor of all time, recommends the everyday investor just invest in index funds. It's the greatest investor of all time's favorite investment. We should probably be listening to that guy. But index investing is almost too good to be true because one, it's a completely passive form of investing. And two, you don't need to know what you're doing. And if you know nothing about index investing, I made a video up here explaining index investing. But I don't believe that you should overcomplicate the investing strategy by analyzing all these different stocks, because a simple index fund will probably beat any stock that you invest in. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I believe when it comes to investing in really just anything financially, simple is best. And the more simple we can keep our finances by doing the things that I mentioned in this video, the less we can worry about money and the more we can enjoy life and make adulthood suck a little less. And with that, muchas gracias. Que tenga un buen día. Video 126 or 253. Nos vemos, chicos.